The Parliamentary Standing Committee for Law and Justice today concluded its meeting on the Uniform Civil Code. According to top sources, the panel was informed about the procedure that lies ahead, but opposition parties, including the Shiv Sena, while supporting the bill in principle, have asked what is the pressing hurry. Parties like the DMK, the Congress and the BRS have also questioned the government's intention, with many tribal states raising concerns. 19 lakh suggestions have been received by the Law Commission. So far, the deadline is July the 13th. Opposition MPs allege that the government is making the pitch while keeping elections in mind. The committee will hold more meetings on this issue. The Uniform Civil Code debate has divided both the opposition and the NDA, but uniformity in justice is something that the makers of the Constitution had envisioned, something highlighted by the Prime Minister when he reignited this debate last week in Madhya Pradesh. CNN News 18's Ananya Bhatnagar spoke exclusively to former Solicitor General of India and senior advocate Harish Salve.
With the debate again coming up for a uniform civil code in the country, I have with me former Solicitor General, the King's Counsel and one of the topmost legal minds of the country, Mr. Harish Salve. So welcome to CNN News 18. So there's a debate going on whether there should be a uniform civil code, there should not be a uniform civil code. First, your views.
I've always personally been a votary for the introduction of a uniform civil code. And basically what the uniform civil code means, and people are saying we don't know what it will be, I think it's pretty simple. We have the Special Marriage Act, we have the Indian Succession Act. This is the law of marriage and divorce. It will apply to all Indians irrespective of caste, creed or color. Does it affect anybody's religion? It doesn't, because it only gives you a choice of secular laws which you want to follow. If you want to follow your religion, you're welcome to. Only thing is the compulsion today that if you've got married by Hindu custom, or if you're born in a Hindu family, or if you're in a Muslim family, or if you're born to Muslim parents who will be governed by Muslim law, customary law, Indian law, all this will go away. You will have a choice of deciding which law applies to you.
So another question that comes up is, and many are opposing a uniform civil code in the country, is saying that it would be a phobic to the minority, especially the Muslim girls and boys.
So let's test it. Why will it be bad for Muslim girls? Let's test it. What choice does it give them? It gives them the choice if they want. Notwithstanding Muslim law, for example, the notion of a woman suing for divorce is alien to Muslim law. An Indian Muslim girl, if she says this marriage is intolerable and I need a divorce, she can go to a court and get a divorce. Now, is that a law which is debilitating, or is that a law which is empowering? What it does is it removes the level of control. But if a girl is a devout Muslim and says, however bad my marriage is, I will follow the religious edict and not divorce my husband, that's her choice. The point is, this is giving choices. This is not taking away anything. This is giving choices. Yes, it takes away the control which religion has over people.
So the Law Commission, the previous Law Commission, the 121st Law Commission, had suggested that though a uniform civil code is something that is a really nice thing, but at the same point of time, it's not the right time to implement it. Do you think that things have changed so far?
Time is a matter which is for personally speaking. Whether or not it should be introduced because there will be political or social unrest is a matter for the government of the day and for Parliament to decide. Does a law call for reform or does it not call for reform is for the Law Commission. The Law Commission said this calls for reform, but said don't do it. Now don't do it is really not. If you said don't do it because it will be bad for the evolution of Indian law, I understand.
And since the matter is already before the Parliamentary Committee for Law and Justice also, and they have also invited views from the Department of Legislature, is it, and it is just a question that, in a country that's so diverse as ours, where there are multiple cultures, multiple religions, and not only, and in fact multiple faiths as well, so is there a possibility that this kind of a law could strengthen the democracy and could strengthen the diversity and bring in a unity?
See, ultimately, this is my personal view, ultimately removing all kinds of state discrimination, affirmative or negative, especially these kind of discrimination based, which empowers one group of people to impose their will on another group of people, will always strengthen democracy. Why do I say that? When you say you must follow, you have an option of a uniform civil code, all citizens will have the same right of inheritance. You know, it's interesting, and you can check this for yourself. If you Google inheritance by Muslims in the UK, you will hit very interesting websites. It says you can make a Sharia compliant will. That means of your own will, of your own choice, you can write a will or a testament which is broadly on the principles of the Sharia. It gives you a choice. But if I say, no, I want to give everything to my two daughters, I don't want to give anything to my son, you have the choice. So this is what the Uniform Civil Code is. And creating these kind of situations, it is the constitution makers who wrote it into the directive principles of the state policy. People like Babasaheb Ambedkar cannot be called people who didn't understand that the Indian constitution was secular. Merely because they didn't use it in the preamble very wisely. This was an injection in the 42nd Amendment. The word secular in the preamble, it has no place. The ethos of our constitution, which gives you freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, that is real secularism. The word secularism has unknown definitions. So these were people who knew what they were creating. They created a constitution with freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. Consistent with that, they said you must have a uniform civil code. But they deliberately put it as directive principle of state policy because along with change in law, you need a change in mindsets. And they hoped over a period of time, mindsets would change. Now, whether the time is right or time is wrong is a political question. I don't want to get into that.
It is a fear that personal laws that are there in the country might get abolished, might get diminished in the Uniform Civil Code, and many believe it to be a threat to their religion. How would you?
That's what I'm saying. A personal law abolished, a personal law which is oppressive should be abolished. A personal law which doesn't give you a right to divorce in today's day and age should be abolished. A personal law which compels you to get rid of your, or to dispose of your estate in one particular way and not the other should be abolished. So these are controlling free will of an individual through the means of a religion. I'm opposed to it.
And finally, the Mukesh Ambani-led Jio Infocomm has launched Jio Bharat, which is an internet-enabled 4G phone at an all-time low cost of 999 rupees. The aim is to ensure scalability of the platform and upgrading millions of feature phone users. In comparison to other operators in the market, Jio's plans are 30% cheaper and offer 7 times more data. This is Jio's attempt to ramp up plans to create a 2G Mukt Bharat and will also bridge the digital divide. The beta trial will be starting from the 7th of July and plans will be carried out across multiple states. Joining me on this big move by Jio to launch a sub-1,000 phone, the Jio Bharat, is noted columnist and opinion writer Suhail Seth. Thank you very much, Suhail, for speaking with us. What do you make of this ambitious plan? A sub-1,000 phone, a 4G-enabled smartphone. I believe there are about 250 million people who are still using 2G devices. Will it be possible for India to be truly 2G Mukt?
See, when Mukesh Ambani launched Jio in 2016, if you remember, at that point in time, there was a need to do two things. One is to disrupt the market, and the second was to democratize the market. If you remember, Zaka, before that day, in September 2016, we were paying astronomical fees for miserable service. Mm-hmm. And then came Jio and said that, look, we will change the paradigm. Voice was free, data was inexpensive, and then everyone had to course correct, and the market self-corrected. At that point in time, if you remember, more and more people were attracted to Jio, and Jio has today become the number one telecom operator, almost wiping out the other players like Vodafone, etc. It is very important in a country where you keep talking about digitization, to not have a digital divide. See, it's very easy for me to say that, Zaka, we live in a digital democracy and a democracy that's powered through digitization. And yet, as you very rightly say, where 250 million people, either because of the device or the operator they are stuck with, do not have access. So what is Jio Bharat doing in a sense? Jio Bharat is taking the next step forward. It is providing accessibility, affordability, and availability, the 3 A's, to helping every Indian realize his or her dream of a digitized economy. And just not a digitized economy. They can see Zaka Jacob on their devices if they get onto a Jio Bharat phone or a Jio Bharat platform. They can watch movies, they can watch cricket, they can do everything that they were earlier not able to do because of either income considerations or because they didn't have access. So I think in many ways, this is the second day of disruption in India's telecom and digital journey. Jio was a telecom disruptor. Today, Jio Bharat is a digital disruptor. Because if you notice, we've come a long, long way as a country in terms of payments, in terms of digital access, in all of that. So I think it's a great, great move. A move which will force other players to recalibrate. But more importantly, it recognizes the need for every Indian, without making any distinction, to be able to empower himself or herself in this journey of digitization.
All right. Okay, as always, for your very succinct comments and your thoughts on what may this mean, Jio Bharat, the new sub-1000 smartphone by Jio Infocom. Thank you very much, Suhail Seth, for joining us here on Brass Tacks. That's a wrap. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch you again tomorrow night, same time. Good night.